am here to share a little bit about Senate Bill 1485. It is a bill that my office has opposed since the very beginning. I do want to make it clear, I know it sounds like a really scary bill. It is very disappointing that it was passed. However, through the different versions that it has gone through, it is less ambiguous than it was when it first started. So the new law will take a look at a voter's history in 2022, 2023, and 2024 for the primary, the general, and municipal elections only. What this will do is for voters who do not utilize their ballot by mail, either by mailing it back or dropping it off in person, it will result in them being notified that they are at risk for being removed from the active early voting list starting in April 2025. So that nobody will be kicked off the ballot. Nobody will be kicked off the rolls. You just simply will not receive a mail ballot. The way to avoid this, of course, is to utilize your mail ballot. So either drop it back in the mail, dropping it off in person counts, and so that'll be fine. And it is not retroactive. It is only moving forward, but nobody will be removed from the voting rolls. And once people actually are, they're going to be given a chance. We're going to contact them. But after that, if they are removed, they will always retain the right to request a one-time early ballot by mail, or they can sign up for the active early voting list again at a later time. The other important thing to note is that there has been a name change. We are no longer referring to the permanent early voting list as permanent. It is now listed as the active early voting list. And a lot of people have been asking if there's anything that they need to do in order to ensure that they continue to receive ballots by mail. No, all you have to do is vote your ballot when it comes. The current list will simply be renamed, so there won't be any changes as of right now. And you can definitely check to see if you're, of course, on the list by checking at recorder.pima.gov, and you can check the status of your account there. So I hope that is helpful for everybody. I know it's been very scary. They're talking about really huge numbers. I am personally disappointed. I think this is going to hurt rural and tribal members and independent voters, I think the most, because they often are confused on elections and maybe aren't voting in every single one. But for anyone else, simply using your mail ballot is going to keep you off any notification lists. Are there any questions?
There's a question from Monica Winook. She says, if you vote a provisional ballot, instead of returning a mail-in ballot, will you be receiving a notice in 2025?
It's a very complex answer, and missing one election is not going to get you on the list. This is if you do not return a mail ballot in 2022, 2023, and 2024. If you vote in one election during any of those timeframes, you are safe, you are fine. But as the question is, does a provisional ballot change that? Yeah, so that's what they're trying to fix. That is what they're trying to discourage people from doing, is leaving that mail ballot at home and voting a whole separate ballot at the early voting sites or on election day. And that's what they're trying to discourage. That does not mean that that's a valid reason. There are plenty of reasons. Maybe they made a mistake, or maybe they spilled a cup of coffee, or maybe they've been displaced from their home and not able to go back and pick up their mail ballot. Something, there's plenty of valid reasons that someone would maybe possibly have to vote in that way. And so this is an unnecessary practice, but what it's meant to do is discourage people from not utilizing that mail ballot. They really, really want you to use that mail ballot.
And Wally Marcus asks if we'll be able to get the names of the people who've been removed.
So yes, that is a public records request. And yes, you can, as a political entity, you can request that. It is important to know that that does come with a little bit of a price tag. You can do a public records request for that voter information, but we do have to charge you for it. And that's something that we're really taking very seriously, especially as we have people like, Mr. Fincham requesting data from our office. We're making sure to have to charge everybody, but absolutely. And that's something we encourage you to reach out to my office and check with my chief deputy, Pam Franklin. She can help you whittle it down to make sure that you're getting the data that you really need and is going to be useful for you. But absolutely, you can do that. That is, we're happy to provide that and help out in any way we can.
And Lori Cinnamon asks if this goes into effect in 2025. We don't have to worry before then.
Absolutely. So the first time that voters will be impacted is April 2025. They will begin to receive 90-day notices, which is an opportunity for them to make sure that they do want to be on the PEVL, or pardon me, the active early voting list, and to continue to be on that list. And of course, if they miss that deadline for any reason, they can always sign up again at servicearizona.com or fill out a paper voter registration form and mark that they wish to continue to receive that ballot by mail. But again, this was a bill that was pushed by the far right, the state legislature, that was intended to help recorders, even though we weren't asking for the help. So
Janice Marlene Verdery has a question.
I have a question to clarify. I think you've said that for those of us that live in the county, we're not in the city, we would have two upcoming elections, 2022 and 2024, which is the general. You have the midterm, the general. Therefore, all we need to do is vote for sure in one of them. And if we do, then we're safe and nobody's going to send us a list, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
So if in the most simplistic terms, if we're looking at a primary and a general of 2022 and the primary and the general of 2024, that's 4 elections. The reason that we're not just saying only those 2 elections is because we are also counting municipal elections. So city would be counted, but not for this year, only in the 2022, 2023, and 2024. I know that's a mouthful and that's harder to share, but that is how the bill was written. And it was a very ambiguous, written in bad faith, honestly. Mm-hmm. This bill has been specifically trying to utilize confusing language that's open to multiple interpretations. It's been a tactic. And so this has been the recorders have pushed, not just myself, but the 14 other recorders throughout the state have pushed to change the language to make it as concise as possible so it impacts the least amount of voters possible.
You mentioned in your response the primaries. Can somebody vote only in one primary? Mm-hmm. And only in one primary, not in the full election. So you can vote for.
Absolutely.
Okay, so just
Absolutely.
One primary.
It only takes one election within those timeframes that I've shared. Only one election, and you will not receive any notices. So that is.
Okay. Thanks for Thank you for the clarification.
Of course.
Again, it's so great to see you.
I think another important thing to note is that there have been mumblings about the changing of these dates that I've just shared with you. Mumblings, nothing in writing, but things have been moving very quickly in the state ledge. And so we will not have a real full picture of all the legislation that will be impacting voters until sine die, until they close session. So I'd be happy to come back and thank you for having me. And it's so great to see so many faces.
Thanks.